Hi everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at my personal primary prediction for the New Hampshire Democratic primary. So we're about 5 days, I believe, out from the New Hampshire primary, and it's getting very interesting because we have a very interesting situation in Iowa that I will cover in another video when absolutely all the counting is done and I can give an accurate analysis of what went down in Iowa. But for now, we're just going to be taking a look at my New Hampshire predictions. So right now, top line, Real Clear Politics average. Bernie Sanders right now leading in the Real Clear Politics average 25.6%. He's up 4% in the past 2 weeks. Joe Biden is at 17.1%, down 0.5 in the past 2 weeks. Pete Buttigieg at 15.0, up 0.2 in the last 2 weeks. And Elizabeth Warren is at 13.9, down 0.1% in the last 2 weeks. And then latest polls with leads. So this is 4 of the most recent polls just with the person who's leading. So the Boston Globe has Sanders up 6. The Emerson and WHDH poll has Sanders up 10, whopping 10. St. Anselm College has a tie at the top, and the Boston Herald has Sanders up 7%. So overall, you can already see it's very interesting. There's a very interesting dynamic in New Hampshire because Iowa, Bernie was projected to win there, and he was projected to win by, 5-6%. He ended up, being in a tie with Buttigieg. Bernie, I think he did about as well as the polling predicted he would in terms of the number, but Buttigieg severely outperformed it, and Joe Biden severely underperformed. And so therefore, Pete Buttigieg sort of came up with Bernie. He underperformed in a way in Iowa, in that people thought that he would get first, but he's sort of getting first and second. It's still waiting to be decided with Pete, but yeah. So and then Joe Biden 17.1%. I mean, oh my goodness, Joe Biden in Iowa. Oh no. His campaign is in absolute freefall right now. He came in 4th place in Iowa, barely crossing the viability threshold. It's I'm not going to say it's the end of the line for Joe Biden because I don't think it is. I think he can come back in other states, but it's not looking too well for the former vice president's campaign. Elizabeth Warren isn't getting much chatter in Iowa. That's mainly because, Bernie and Buttigieg are about to win, both of them, and then Biden came in 4th, so Warren is sort of just there. She outperformed her polls, I think, a little bit in Iowa, but not really that much. I thought she would get 4th. She actually ended up getting 3rd. This is my prediction going into Iowa. So Bernie's correct. Joe Biden goes from 2nd to 4th. Buttigieg goes from 3rd to 2nd. Warren goes from 4th to 3rd, and Klobuchar stays at 5th. So not the best prediction, but I mean, it's I got the winner right, but I don't know. Anyway, we're on to New Hampshire now. Because right now, if you take a look at the overall polling takeaways, right now Sanders he's up 4% in New Hampshire over the past 2 weeks. So that would be he's surging in New Hampshire, up about 1 percentage point every 3.5 days. And most of the other candidates are just staying flat. Biden down 0.5, Buttigieg up 0.2, Warren down 0.1. So not much movement there with the other candidates. I would say Sanders is pulling away with this one. Right now he's up quite a bit over his nearest competitor, which is the former vice president. He's up about 8 percentage points there on Joe Biden. And even then, I wouldn't say Joe Biden is going to come in second, given his dismal performance in in Iowa, sorry. So it might be Buttigieg, and Buttigieg, he might get a bit of a bump, but still, I don't think anyone's going to win New Hampshire other than Bernie Sanders. And another thing to consider, I did a short video about this the other day, but I would say just those four have even a chance of winning. However, Klobuchar, Gabbard, and Yang could all have an impact. Because if you take a look, here's the minor candidate polling. Klobuchar, she is at 7.2 percentage points. She could very well take away votes from Joe Biden and even Elizabeth Warren. Tulsi Gabbard at 4.7, Andrew Yang at 3.7. Both of them are going to take away support from Senator Bernie Sanders. You know, there's a lot of things going on. Steyer and Patrick, I would say, are a bit irrelevant, especially Patrick. He's at 0.3, but, yeah. Some other factors. Will Biden's Iowa collapse impact his New Hampshire result? I definitely think his Iowa collapse is going to impact New Hampshire. I mean, if we can see all of these firewall strategies in the past, they have all failed. Just as a few examples, you know, if you take a look at Rudy Giuliani's 2008 strategy, he banked it all on Florida. He said, I'm going all in on Florida. I'm not worrying about the other states. Collapses in Florida. And Joe Biden also saying, you know what? I'm going all in on South Carolina and in Super Tuesday. I'm going to predict he's going to collapse. All of these firewall strategies don't seem to be able to hold these days. And some other factors, Buttigieg had a good night in Iowa. I'm going to say it impacts in New Hampshire. I think he gets a bit of a bump. Not as much of a bump as he would otherwise get because of the Iowa shenanigans, but I still think he would get a little bump. Same thing to a lesser extent as Sanders would get a bit of a bump. Sanders could bring out new voters to caucus polls, now might not be counting that. So, one thing to consider, Sanders didn't really do that in Iowa. Like, he did it a little bit, but the turnout probably wasn't as high as he would have liked for a solid win in Iowa. The polls might not be counting that. I don't think it might happen as much, but even if he just stays where his polls are at, he doesn't need to outperform because he's the favorite going into New Hampshire. Gabbard, Yang, Klobuchar, we already talked about that. Buttigieg and Sanders are going into this New Hampshire debate with targets on their backs. This is very important. I will be discussing the debate. I believe it starts about 26 hours from now in New Hampshire. I think they're going to be. I think they're going to be the front runners. People are going to go after them, especially Bernie Sanders. I mean, he's really seen a bit of a surge in the recent days. Will this Bernie surge continue after, honestly, a sort of disappointing Iowa finish for Bernie? And I don't say that lightly because Bernie, he was going in. This is his polling going in. He was up 3% on Joe Biden. Actually, he was up 8% on the person who he's now tied with. So that's pretty impressive, and that's pretty impressive for Buttigieg. Sanders pretty much just staying where he is. Right. Anyway, New Hampshire. Back to New Hampshire. Yeah. So in terms of my predictions, my top 5 picks in New Hampshire in terms of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to say in 5th place after a strong Iowa finish, I'm going to say this is Senator Amy Klobuchar. I'm going to say she gets into the top 5 in 5th place. In a way, I was sort of debating between Klobuchar and if Gabbard or Yang, if either of them dropped out, their supporters may go to the other, or they might even just go to Bernie. But anyway, Amy in number 5, and if Gabbard and Yang were to combine their support, I thought maybe they might overtake Klobuchar, but even then, I'm just going to put Klobuchar as 5th because none of that is seeming to happen. In 4th place, you guessed it, Joe Biden. So Joe Biden, he, after a disappointing Iowa finish to say the least, he got blown out in the state of Iowa. He got absolutely pummeled in Iowa. I'm going to say that carries over for a 4th place finish in New Hampshire. 3rd, Elizabeth Warren, right? I'm just going to say it out there. Elizabeth Warren, I think she'll get in 3rd. She might get, I think she, if you actually take a look at in Iowa, her polling was 13.5. She ended up getting about 18%. So she did outperform her polls a bit. I think maybe she gets a bit of momentum maybe from that, but Elizabeth Warren in 3rd. You can probably guess who's in 2nd. I'm putting Pete Buttigieg in 2nd. I think that he will come in 2nd place. Joe Biden right now 2nd in the polls, but I will put Buttigieg in the 2nd place slot in terms of the finishes, because I do think that he will get a bit of an Iowa bounce. And then obviously Bernie Sanders leading in the polls. I think he's going to come in 1st place in the state of New Hampshire, and then we go on to Nevada, which I have to change all of the polling averages for next video when we're 1 week out from Nevada. But that's it for today's video, guys. I thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.